Okay. Actually, I'll just get rid of this crap. Okay. Well, Sea of Blue. Looks like some sort of cult going on here, like some tech cult maybe. Okay, so I'm Jonathan. I'm a game artist and game lead at Supercell. So yeah, today I think it'd be good to talk about killing games and quality and why quality is so important. And this is something that we talk about a lot and do a lot at Supercell. Obviously, this isn't for everyone, but it's the way we want to do things. So, who the heck am I? Okay, I'm obviously not a professional speaker. I'm an artist. I spend most of my days in a dark room pushing pixels around. That's me. I know that's a weird photo, but it says a lot. So, I'm from New Zealand, and like all New Zealanders, I started off as a sheep farmer. And so, any New Zealanders here? I know there is one, two, yes. Cool. Yeah, we're far away from home. Yeah, it's just good to give you a bit of a brief about me so you know I'm not just some random guy. So, like all New Zealanders, we ended up in Australia, and I actually started off many years ago as a 2D animator, flipping paper actually, and drawing with a pencil, which seems like really crazy. But yeah, so I worked at Disney. Then Disney closed down. I started up my own company. We ended up doing lots of pre-production and for film and TV, and which also ended up being lots of pre-production for games, and we did like cinematics and stuff like that. Worked on LA Noire and Epic Mickey and heaps of other stuff. And then the iPhone happened, and it was like, holy shit! Now we can do stuff, like we don't need a publisher. And it seemed kind of crazy and cool and exciting. And I did a couple of apps, and I ended up even coding one, which, well, kind of like copy pasting, Stack Overflow sort of stuff. So yeah, so got into games and ended up back in New Zealand, art director there at Gameloft, and then I did. So yeah, that's New Zealand, which is not part of Australia. We have our own flag, although it's similar to Australia, but ours was first. Okay, so I made this epic journey to the beautiful, sunny Finland, and yeah. So I should actually update that because it is actually beautiful and sunny at the moment. But it's amazing how quickly we forget. And then, yeah, so I ended up at Supercell. And my first week was concepting some stuff. Concepted stuff for Spooky Pop, which is another kill game. And then I quickly joined this team with two other guys, and we embarked on Smash Land. And then I was lucky enough to spend a bit of time with the other guys from Smash on Royale, and then now I'm on a new game team, exciting game, next #1 game, hopefully. So what are we doing here? Firstly, I'll just sort of chapterize this so we know where we're going. Supercell is a serial killer, so I'll just talk a quick history of all the games and stuff that we've killed. And then why do we kill games? The reasons, and then we'll do a kind of mini postmortem on Smashland. And because this game we did kill, we got to soft launch and we killed it. So it's a good example. And then we'll talk about how we kill games, and then we'll have some question time, hopefully. 55 minutes to go. Okay. So it's important for me to say Supercell has always been a serial killer, always been a killer. Obviously, it's easy for me to say, kill games, it's really good for quality, especially when financials are great, but the truth is, like, even at this stage, before any success, this was a predetermined thing that the guys had before any success. Like, they were aiming for quality at this stage where we're all familiar with this type of a room, sweaty, stinky, keyboard tappy room. So, short history. There. So, first there was this game called Gunshine, which was a browser game that was killed in 2011. Then there's Pets vs. Orcs, which was the first mobile game, and yeah, that was killed as well. And then Heyday, which was released globally. Then Battle Buddies, which was actually in beta during that time. That was eventually killed. And then Clash came out. That stayed on the store, and so did Boom Beach. Then we had Spooky Bop, which was this puzzler game. And then Smashland, which we'll talk about later. Those were both killed. And then Royale recently, which luckily made it. So those are the games that you guys might be aware of, but of course, amongst all that, many other prototypes that have been killed, like many, and some all different stages from, a week's worth of work to, some being worked on for months. Really polished, beautiful games, but hopefully something will come out of them. Actually, lots of things have come out of them, which you'll see soon. Okay, so since 2014, since Boom Beach was released, we had 7 killed at prototype, 2 killed at soft launch, and 1 released globally, which is this beautiful number, 1 in 10 released globally since Boom Beach. Or if you have a dark soul, it's 9 in 10 killed. So why do we kill games? Like, what's the reason behind all this? The short answer for us, again, this is the way we are trying to do things, is we kill games to focus on quality, which is obviously what this presentation's about. The long answer is, I'll read it. We kill games because we have really small teams, and if those teams feel their time is better spent on something else, they kill their game or project as fast as possible to focus on something better or higher quality. That way we can stay small as a company and we can keep our values, we can keep hold of them. That's it. So, only joking. That was my joke slide. Okay. So let's sort of break this down a bit and try to work out what's all behind this. So this is the slogan that's on the website. You can see it there now. And I don't know, it's not actually a slogan, but it's a good word to use. It's not just a slogan. This is a real thing that we care about. We live and breathe this phrase. We stress about it. When we take a lot of time hiring people, and we put a lot of effort into it. And this is something that the whole company, we actually all get together and talk about this particular thing. So best people. So yeah, here's some. I spent a lot of time on the animation, so I hope you appreciate this stuff. So best people, what does that give us? Gives us small teams, small independent cells. Much like maybe many of you guys are in independent studios, we have very small teams in a room, talking together, making games, and hopefully they kill their way to the best game with a bit of luck. And so just to break this down a bit, best people for us, best people are proactive people. We've got small teams. We actually don't have any producers or managers telling us what to do, so we have to be proactive doers. It's really important. I'm a game lead, but I actually spend most of my time making assets, and like art assets, and then passion for excellence, which is something we all have in common. We all have a very high bar of what we want to do. Like I've been, I'm almost 40 this year. I'll be 40, and I've done lots of stuff in my life, in my career, and they've all been pretty good, like okay stuff. But I want to do something awesome. I want to touch millions and millions and millions of people. And so I think that's something that we all have in common at Supercell. And of course, good person. Why not have good people, nice people? And so small teams, that gives us, like I said, independence. We don't have producers or managers or people telling us what to do. And it means we have focus, like we don't have like lots of cooks in the kitchen. It's just us in a room. It gives us, and this one's important to me, is the ownership. Like it's, this is why I do what I do, because I love it, and just like you guys, you have this ownership with small teams. The kind of flip side of it is the responsibility. You don't have anyone telling you what to do. You've got this blank piece of paper, and you've got to make something like awesome for millions of people. It's really hard, and it's a lot of responsibility. And sometimes it means killing something that you love. Hopefully, that gives us quality, which is for us. So obviously everyone here has a different idea of quality, but for us, and actually maybe for me, the way I think about it is first, there's three things. Fun, it's the gameplay, it's all that cool stuff, the buttons, the animations, the audio at the right time, the animation on the button, the way you deploy a troop, how that works, and all the beautiful effects. And if you're having fun making it, it's probably a fun game. And then social, so it's so much more fun playing with lots of people. Meaningful social, I should say, which is really hard to get. Then games that people play for years. And this one's really tough as well. Like in actually decades, we often talk about it as decades, which is crazy, but we want to, like I think about games like Street Fighter or any Nintendo game, Mario, like games that, like I have such great memories of Street Fighter at what we would call the dairy or convenience store, with the arcade machine, your friends, the social, the coin on the arcade, and those memories stay with me, and I would love to make a game that people have those sort of feelings about. And truly global games. So not global as in the US, but global as in, China, Korea, Japan, all of Asia, everyone, everything, Tuvula even. And hopefully, if we can get all that happening, boom, quality, with a bit of luck. But all those fingers have to line properly to get quality. So just to put some numbers on that, and these are crazy numbers, I still can't believe them myself, but as an example, there's been over 250 million clans created, and after 2 years for Clash, 1 in every 10 players still play Clash every day, which is just mental. Like 100 so if 100 people started playing 2 years ago, like 10 of them would still be playing today, like on a daily basis. This was released recently. Actually this was released before Royale, but we have over 100 million people playing our games every day, which is, I mean, I'm from New Zealand, which is a little bit smaller than Finland. So, it's crazy numbers. And, of course, there's the finances. But financial goals, actually, I've messed that up. I had a really good flow. Okay. Financial goals are secondary to quality. And I know that sounds silly, but it's true. Of course, financial goals are really important. It keeps things afloat. But these little game teams, we're not actually that focused on the finances. A good way to think about it is financial goals follow great games. So we spend more time trying to make great games than tweaking any sort of financial stuff. We don't have like monetization managers or anything like that. So, yeah. Yeah, this is something I was interested in recently. Like, I actually wish that we have like a top grossing and top download on the app stores, but I'd love to see like a top retaining chart or something. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, I'd love to see how these games work. And so we looked at some numbers, and we basically got the top grossing games, put them all together, and sorted them by retention, by 30-day retention. And I was expecting to see something kind of similar to the top grossing. But in this case, it was all over the show. There's no correlation to anything. Games at the top were at the bottom. And but something was really excited me was our games were all up there in the top 10, and which, for me anyway, shows where we focus, where we try to put the focus, making these games last for years. So to summarize this section, basically if you have more games, it usually means you need more people, and which usually means you need more management and more bureaucracy to look after those people and to make sure things are flowing, and which usually leads to less ownership, less independence, less focus, and ultimately less quality, which is everything the opposite of what we're trying to do. And so in this case, it's really important for us to stay small, to keep hold of those values, like I said before. However, it's not all unicorns and fairy dust. It's not easy. It's really hard to do. And it's hard to get right. Firstly, the best people don't always make the best teams. We have lots of great people, but sometimes just chemistry doesn't work and things just don't work. So, but they work completely fine in other teams. And trying to create those teams is a really hard thing to do. And so we shift around quite a bit. And it can depend on the game, that people, what kind of game that team is working on as well. Being small is not always focused. Sometimes artists have to get up and talk to people about stuff and spend ages on animations and slides and not making the game. So although being small keeps us focused, you have to be really careful and somehow learn how to say no to things, so that you can keep focus on what's important. Being independent has its own pressure. Like I said before, responsibility. You've got to make a call for the company, like, is it worth us being on this project? And there's no one telling you you should or you shouldn't, but you have to make those big calls. And then team goals come before personal goals. Like I'd love, I'd maybe like make a Street Fighter game, black and white, some kind of indie, something cool game, but it may be not what the team wants to do. So you've got to work with the team. Okay, so let's talk about Smashland, which is a game we released and we eventually killed. So it's the perfect example. So if you hadn't seen it, here's a sort of video. So it was slingshot mechanic. There's the single player there battling against these enemies. You've got the single player map at the top. You've got a multiplayer button. The versus is the main focus. So you actually play real time, turn-based against everyone in the world. Collect the heroes, upgrade them, get all the special abilities, all that sort of stuff. Nice memories of that game. Okay, so I've been talking about small. How big are we? So worldwide, we're 180 people, and then all the games are made in sunny Helsinki, and so we have about 70 developers in Helsinki. And I'm really proud of this graph. It's the best one I've ever done. So I'll just explain it. basically got the timeline of Smashland, like how long it took to make it, and also how many people in the team. So you can see we started off with 3 people. We probably needed, I think we needed some more programming power at the start, and we had another artist join us. A couple of guys dropped off, some more came on, and as we sort of ramped up, and some guy dropped off at the end, can't remember why, but he left us all alone. And then we have, in red there, we've got the beta period. So to give you, this also gives you an idea of how a lot of the teams make games at Supercell. Not exactly, but similar. So within the first week, we had a prototype. Actually, I should say that in the first day, we were actually going to make a completely different game, 100% different game. And then the programmer Rauli came up with this cool Monster Strike game, and this was before it was even on the charts, and we had to play with it, and we loved it, and we thought, yeah, let's just do a prototype, see what happens. So within the first week, we had, a playable. We had actually a prototype, which we sent out to everyone, but slingshotting the characters in there. And then after that, we got some confidence. We started working on it, and we had our first playable. So playable is what we call, I don't know what you call it, but just a company playable where everyone gets to play the game and we get feedback from them. And then we worked on the feedback. We had another playable, and then we got really excited about it. The second playable had the PvP in it, and so we got help from some other guys joined the team, and then we launched it into beta. And that took 10 months to get that. And I worked out, so I averaged it all out. So we killed it there. I averaged it all out, and we had 4.96 people on the team in that 10 months working on the game. Okay, so how do we make games? So I should say, first I should maybe talk a little bit about the structure of the company so you get to know how these teams work. This is like your, just realized my joke doesn't work because I don't have a moustache anymore, but I did have a moustache a week ago. Okay, so that's me down there in the bottom. So this is your traditional model, where you have the guy at the top who's got the idea, and the idea filters down to the teams, and the teams execute it, which works really well for certain types of industries. And it actually works amazingly well for many industries, and it's a beautiful invention for humanity, this production assembly line. And it works really well for ideas or products that have these specific guidelines, and you have to be accurate with them, otherwise the cars will crash. But we are a creative industry. We're designing that car. You know, every day we're trying to make that new game or new thing, and it's a creative process, and it takes lots of good minds, not just one single sort of design. So at Supercell, so we've got this traditional model. We throw that in the rubbish, and because we're renegades, and we do this. So we basically have flipped it upside down. We give the people at the top, the teams, they have the ideas. These are the guys that know how to make games. And the people down the bottom, I'm a game lead, so I'm actually in the team, but I consider myself like a voice for the team. I will get up and talk on behalf of the team. If there's any sort of decisions that the team is split on, then I might make a call on that if there's a stalemate, but it very rarely happens. And then we would have like our CEO at the bottom. His main role, as far as the games are concerned, is just to make sure that the game teams are working and that they are supported, they have everything they need to work on the games. But he's not designing the games. So let's quickly talk about Smashland, how we made this, how we approached it. So first we decided on concept. Like I said, we looked at Monster Strike and the mechanic there. And we did a prototype that was actually maybe the sort of second one. I think the first one could have been done in a day by Raleigh, but then we had one with some visuals by the end of the week. And it turned into that one. And fun fact is that tree is actually the exact same tree that we used 10 months later, which I've never done. Okay, so we focused on fun first, the gameplay. We focused a lot on the slingshot mechanic, the bouncing, the feeling. We had versions where the characters were actually being pushed around quite a lot, but it just got too chaotic. And then we went with that feeling. It had a much better feeling when the enemies were stationary and it had this impact feeling. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that we focused there on. So we focused on the gameplay first. Then we put a lot of attention to the PvP experience. We knew this was the thing, and it was the kind of the scary thing for us because it was new to us having this real-time turn-based. It was something we definitely had to prove. Then we had the company playables, and then before soft launch, we decided on the targets. So in our case, the team decides on the targets. We basically look at retention and ARPDAU targets, and we just base them off our current games. We're very lucky to have these games that are live that give us really good data. So we base them off those games. Then the team checks the targets with Ilka. This is actually this is the time that Ilka actually has his chance to have Ilka's the CEO, chance to influence the game or the team. But so far he hasn't gone against any of the targets the teams have set. Then the targets are transparent to the whole company. So this is really important. Like every day we get emails of all the live games. Everyone gets an email, and we have all the data, and we can just go to one of the data guys and ask for something specific if we want. Everything's open. And in this case, I actually did a presentation talking to the whole company, saying what our targets are and where we're going with the game and everything. Then it's up to the players, because at the end of the day, we really don't know what the game is going to do when it gets out there. But at least we've got the targets to sort of guide us. Then we press the button, and yes, this is like one of the coolest moments, as I'm sure you all know. It's such a great time, and it's kind of like the nerves. So nervous, but excited. Maybe this is the one. It's sad to see them so happy, but little did they know. So beta, we released it in Canada. Later, we went to Australia and New Zealand. If we were to do it again, I think we would just go massive and go everywhere we could with the soft launch countries. We got to 10,000 DAU by day 7. But because this was a PvP game, we really needed to get more people to get better matchmaking for the guys at the top of the table. So yes, we would definitely, I think, go to much more countries and maybe try put Hong Kong or something in there as well. So yeah, retention and ARPDAU were below our targets, and session count was low, so that wasn't looking great. But the cool thing was people, when they got to PvP, they stayed in it, and that was like, yeah, oh, cool, something to work off. So what did we do? We spent 3 months working it and doing lots of stuff to try and improve the numbers. First thing we did was it actually originally took 45 minutes to get to PvP. We had this sort of single player map, and it was essentially a tutorial to play PvP. but we managed to get that down to 14 minutes. So essentially in the first session of downloading the game, you could get to PvP. We added team challenge mode, where much like in Royale, where you can challenge your friends in your team or clan. We added events, which also we added new short-term progression for the PvP, and we added heaps of stuff. We added items that you could, and new resources, and we added spells as well, which was a new mechanic in the game. Nothing changed. So somehow there seems to be something inherent in a game that it's really hard to move those numbers. But we tried a lot. Almost nothing changed except for this, which was quite crazy. And we know exactly what it was. So actually the most important graph there is the one on the left there. And what it is retention. And you can see the different colors of the lines, like the different versions of the game. And the fourth version there is the one that spikes up a bit in retention. So we actually increased it by over 5% with this one version. We know exactly what it was. It was this little bit of UI here. Originally, that wasn't even in the game. It's basically, this is just the short-term progression for PvP. Before it wasn't there, you'd go play your game, come out, you'd win or lose. Now you're actually aiming for something. So you win a game and you'd get close to getting that chest. And the cool thing is that these kind of learnings, we actually every morning, or every Monday morning, all the teams will have a talk in the kitchen, and we'll give an update on where things are going, what we're trying to do. And then usually on Fridays, we'll have a bigger Friday update where we talk about what's happened and sort of bigger events coming up. And so our learnings for all the games are shared in these ways. And in this case, it got to the live games as well. So at the end of the day, it wasn't enough, we killed it. And it wasn't a game people would play for years. That's what we felt. And the beta targets were not meant. Session count was low. Lack of content. The metagame was weak and narrow. The hero usage, we were always struggling with that. You'd basically unlock these heroes and we would hope that people would use and upgrade all of them, but that's a really hard thing to do, and we never quite got that right. Updates started to feel cluttered. As you can see, we did a lot to the game, and it actually changed the game quite a bit, and it started to make the game just wasn't designed originally for all that sort of stuff. And the social wasn't that powerful or meaningful. So how do we make games? Who makes the decision? Of course, the team makes the decision. And yes, that's true. We don't have people telling us this is the responsibility that we have to take on in these small teams. And like all good Finnish decisions, they're made in the sauna. And we got naked and we got some beers and talked about it and asked ourselves, can we lock into this for years? Is this something that we as a team, is this where we are best, our time is best spent? What is the opportunity cost? Like, should we be doing this, basically? The second, so we were already, I think we were already talking about other sort of games and concepts at that time. And I think the second you start thinking about killing something, chances are you already have some. So full transparency again. So this is how we notify the whole company. I sent out an email telling everyone, and the CEO sent a response. It's a good read if you want to take a photo. It talks a lot about the culture, and I think there's a good line. Sometimes he says he worries that we're drinking our own Kool-Aid and not really following through with our values. So This is a good example of where we actually did make the decision. Photo taken. Yeah. Okay. So, and then, like I said, we have Friday updates, and this is the Friday update area, and we did a postmortem on the game. We talked about all the learnings and the failings, and this is a really, really special time, and not even for games, actually. We have postmortems for all types of things. We might even have a postmortem for this event. And yeah, that is a glass of champagne there, which the press really got a hold of. But I think they got it wrong because they sort of phrased it like we celebrate the failings with champagne, but it's not quite right. Failing sucks shit. Like, no one wants to fail. It's horrible. It feels crap. And you just spent 10 months of your life doing something that you're not releasing. But the learning is cool. The learning is a thing that we really appreciate, because you can't get that type of learning for just by not trying something. And we could have not released this and we wouldn't have learned anything. So it's really, really important to take those risks, and because that's the only time you're actually going to learn something. So what happens to the team? Of course, they all get fired. I was lucky enough to get the presenting job, so I've probably got a year left if I stretch out. No, they get celebrated. And the cool thing about this story is that almost all this team ended up working on Clash Royale, helping the guys, the Royale team, get over the line. And some of the guys were crucial members in the team at the end, and some became permanent members of the Royale team. It's not to take away from the Royale team, and I have to say here as well, Smashland isn't special. The team, there are many other teams that helped as well, and which leads me to this beautiful image of how we see our games, and like Smashland is there. It's just behind this with the 2 X's, but yeah, so all the learnings for the games, for the live games, come from this graveyard of failings. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm way under time, but yeah, of course, always looking for murderers. Let's do question time. We've got an epic 22 minutes.
Let's give it up. All right, surely someone has a question. All the way in the back, can we throw it? Speak closer to the box, sorry.
What happens to the game that's really successful and it's starting to drop? So sorry, yeah, I actually couldn't hear that. Yo, testing 1, 2.
Real mic to the rescue. Come on, work.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay. So what happens when you have a game which you realize that you're really gonna take off? You
Okay,
have
like
your really small team, let's say 5 guys. What do you do then? Do you bring up more people? How big that?
how big does the team get
Yeah.
for, say, a game that is released globally?
Yes.
So I'm not in the Royale team, but obviously that game went global, and it was a very clear thing that game would go global, like almost as soon as it was released. And of course, the team actually it had gotten quite big. There were quite a few artists working on it to get it over the line, so there were quite a few artists there. But I'd say it's still from my experience anyway, still relatively small team. It might be 15 people at the moment, at a guess. That's including like QA and a player support and community person. But yeah, it depends on the game as well. What type of game it is. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, okay, cool.
More questions? Please, over there.
So how do you form the teams? So when, for example, one game is ready or killed, so is it normally that the same team continues, or do you mix the teams, or how they are formed?
It seems to be no set rules, actually. I kind of describe it as like super well organized chaos, like as far as the teams go. In our case, for Smashland, we killed the game and then we instantly started working on prototypes. We did about, all based on a similar theme, we did about 3 or 4 different prototypes. And then we actually just felt like we were more useful elsewhere, and that was the Royale team, so we decided to help them out because so it was our decision to make that transition to help the guys in Royale. I think the ideal thing would be if you have a really good working team is to try and keep them together. And that's what we do try to do, but we are small and it's a really hard thing to do because there's needs in other teams but okay, as an example, lead meetings and game lead meetings, and if a game lead might say, we really need a programmer, and then they would ask the teams if there's any guys that are looking to leave a particular team, and then would sort of pinpoint on a particular person, and then we would actually go talk to that person and ask them if they want to join the team, which is very important. And so it kind of works like that. It's quite organic.
Any more questions? Over there.
Hello.
Yes.
It works.
Yes. What's the main reason for killing a relatively well-doing game like the Smashlands, like rather than releasing it and basically die on its own? Like, is it bad publicity for you, or is it expensive to maintain it, or like that's something I don't quite get it.
So we released, for Smashland's case, we released it, and as a team, we didn't feel like it was a game that we could lock into years. Like we, as a team, want to work on a game that we can work on for years, you know? And we didn't feel like that was the case with Smashland. And for us also, the other thing is, like, if we could have released it and just let it drop and die a lonely death, but is that where, because we're such a small team, we didn't feel like that's where our time was best spent. And we would be better helping other teams, or we would be better making the game, taking those learnings and making the game we should have made. Because there's only a few of us, and it's really important to keep that focus. And it would be horrible thinking, oh, I'm just going to work on this until, I don't know, different for everyone else, but for me personally, I'd be wanting to go full on into something for years, you know.
Gentleman in the, over here. Yes, well, you can actually use this one.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
Here.
Oh.
Howdy.
Stereo.
From Smashland, you took this idea of these short-term goals to Boom Beach as the supply chests
Yeah.
and the for Clash Royale as these treasure chests. Are there other learnings that were possibly already incorporated in your other games or might be doing so in the future?
Yeah, always. And it's not just Smashland. There's all the other games, the games that actually don't get released have learnings. And I mean, even with Smashland, I'd say there's tech that we got to use for Royale. And even like the where we were heading with, like, say, the chat in Royale, although Royale is quite different and much more impressive now, Smash was working towards that as well. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things, and there's guys from one team moving to that team, and they bring on things that way. So yeah, sharing the learnings are super important for us.
So a question.
It's actually
sorry.
the point of killing something is actually just to, I mean, they just killed it and didn't talk or share those learnings, then it's a waste. It's such a waste, because it's very special that you get to release a game. You know, like you could be there for a year, and if you don't share those learnings, then it's a big waste of time.
All right, so gentleman over here has a question.
Cheers. So, to the recruiting process at Supercell, how do you guys find the best murderers?
Nice. Dark alleys is a good. So we spend a lot of time. I guess our recruiters spend a lot of time trying to find people. I think by far majority of the employees have come from referrals, because it's so important that we know the people. Well, it's not. Would love for it to be more the other way as well, but we just get so much trust from actually having worked with people. And we interview people. It can be, well, as my example is, like I actually flew to Helsinki for the interview, and it was intense, and it was like a real Finnish interview. Like, I'm probably like the opposite of a Finnish person. Like, New Zealand is the opposite of Finnish people. We talk a lot, and it's all a lot of crap. Like, it doesn't actually mean much. Whereas the Finnish don't talk. They usually say something. So the interview, I was like, and so it was a lot of that from me, and not much from the Finnish people. But yeah, luckily it went well. But yeah, really lots of interviews from all people from all different teams, from programmers to artists to game leads. The CEO interviews everyone. And for me as an artist, I did an art test as well. Yeah.
All right, anybody else? So many. Gentleman over there on the left.
So Canada, Australia, and countries like that are becoming a bit like graveyards of games. So how do you...
Sorry, no, I missed that first bit.
Sorry?
I heard Australia.
Yeah, Canada, Australia, and
No, okay, yeah, okay. Canada.
New Zealand are
Yep.
becoming kind of graveyards of games. So
yeah,
how do
okay.
you keep players who have invested time and money in a way happy to the fact that their favorite games are killed so often?
Yeah. Well, in our case, we gave players gems from our other games, people had spent. But yeah, it's tough, but at the end of the day, we're doing these games for those people, and I feel like we can do a better game for those people, and we can make the multiplayer much better, and I think it does suck and it is uncomfortable, but we just have to do it. Otherwise, we're in a way doing them a disservice for releasing something that we don't feel that we can keep going for years. And we feel confident that one day we'll be able to do a better game for them.
Next up. Somebody up right here in front. You raise your hand, really raise it. There you go. You need to throw. Where is it? Oh, there it is.
If you can answer, like, on what margin Smashland didn't hit the targets? Was it like percents, tens of percents? It's interesting.
We got very close to our retention targets, but it was our low target. I can't give any sort of percentages or anything like that, but the retention target was close, but it was our minimum target. Because we have maximum and minimum targets. Maximum is like what we would love. Minimum, obviously, everything's minimum, then it's like, and then it depends on your feeling, like whether you feel like the game, because the game got quite cluttered and didn't feel right. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Gentleman in the back. Nice one.
Hey, I was wondering that if you're killing so many games, it seems that someone will have the unfortunate fate of working at Supercell for 10 years and never releasing a game.
Yeah.
Is like that's probably something you've thought about, but like
Yeah, I think about it every
Yeah. Yeah, and is there any ways you can fight that?
Yeah, it's really tough. And I guess that's sort of part of that responsibility, and that's the thing that is really tough. I try to hold on to the things that like I have influenced in Supercell for me personally to keep me going. And I think we all have that. We all have those things. But yeah, it is tough and it sucks, and I don't have much on my CV from Supercell, but except for these presentations. So yeah, it is tough. I think a big thing on that is that we were in that sauna and we made that decision. It wasn't someone else telling us to kill something. I think that does a lot to making it easier because we know we can do better, and it was our decision. Yeah.
Still have some time left. Gentleman up here in the front, raise your hand, please. Grab it.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. One of your slides showed quite well that there is no clear correlation between top 50 grossing ranking and retention.
Yeah.
And also the relation between retention and conversion, or ARPDAU, is quite a complicated one. So how do teams before soft launch go about setting like relevant KPI targets?
Well, for us, we look at our current games that are live. We're very lucky that we have really good data, and also we have like data from the soft launch countries. So you know, we can even look at Heyday and when that was launched in Canada. So we have really, and with all the other games, we have really good data to aim for, because obviously people in Canada spend differently to people in Philippines or wherever. So I think we just have we're just lucky to have all that data that we base everything off.
More questions all the way in the back.
Hello? Oh. This might be off topic, but I wanted to ask, how is the game's birth for Supercell? Because I'm sure great people means great ideas. Do you guys, how do you guys select it? I'm sure there's no KPI for birth of a game, so what are the process for selecting?
For birth, do you mean like where do the ideas come from?
If they're like great ideas, which one, how do you guys pursue which one to make? Do you guys do like...
Okay. So a team would have maybe a small group of people, 3 people might have an idea, they'll prototype something, and if they feel like it's got some positive things there, they'll keep working on it. Then might do a playable, and they'll get feedback from the whole company, and then they make the team makes the decision. So it just comes down to the team again. Bit of a boring answer, but it truly just comes down to the team on whether they feel confident that they can build this into a game. But yeah, does that answer the question?
Hello. I was just wondering, since like on your team went to work on some Clash Royale, if there's no team to come up with any ideas, we were just.
Okay. Well, there's other teams making other games as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and that changes and moves all the time.
More questions? Gentleman on the left.
Did I hit you? Hi, I was just wondering that when you're putting together these teams, do you guys have some winning formula for the team composition? And of course, as a game designer, I must have wondering, do you guys have room in these teams usually for a game designer, or how do you build the teams, basically?
Yeah, often just on need, and so game designers, yes, we have game designers. Not every team has a game designer. Some teams, it depends on the people. There might be programmers that are really designer-minded. The game, it depends on the game as well. Maybe it's not such a systems-built game, and there's many artists we all make games. So some teams don't have designers because there's no real need for it. Other teams do have designers. My designer. And I think Boom and Heyday. So, yes, we do have designers. What was the other part of the question?
No, it's just about is there a typical team composition? But I guess you answered
that. Nothing typical. Depends on the team, the people in the team, and their abilities. As far as artists go, we hire generalists. We try to hire generalists who can do UI and all that. And sometimes some people are more designy minded and do UI, or some guys are 3D modelers and doing, so we have lots of generalists in the company because we're so small. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Time for one more.
We've almost done 22 minutes of
Who's
questions.
the brave person? You, sir, in the back, next to the column.
So, hello. How do you actually motivate the team to tell you that, in my opinion, we should kill the game? Because then he lost the motivation for it.
Well, it certainly wasn't my decision alone to kill the game, so so what happened with Smash, in Smash's case, was we'd done 3 months worth of soft launch, and then from memory, because we all kind of sit in a circle so we can turn around and talk, that's how we do all our meetings. So I just said, so what do you guys reckon about the game? And then we just all talked about it, and we kind of could feel that might be the decision that we'll make. So then that's when we went to the sauna to talk about it for real. Yeah.
All right, that's it. Let's give it up for Jonathan. Good stuff.